going to start with a little question, which is how many of you are here in this facility, in jail, because of drug-related crimes? So every single one of you. And then how many of you have been in jail previously as it related to drug crimes? So a couple of you, 3 of you, first-timers, and the rest. So then the question for a politician gets to be, does jail stop you from being involved in opioids or heroin?
No.
It doesn't stop you.
It makes it worse.
You don't come
That is, talk about that. It makes it worse. How is that?
because you don't come to jail and come out a better person. You come to jail and you come out with better connections. This is one gigantic drug network. You come in here and you meet people, and then when you go on the streets, you maybe originally had, like, let's say 10 people you could go through. You get out of jail, you got 30 more now.
Yeah.
So it makes it worse.
So when you get out of here, how long will it take you to get heroin or what have you?
I can have it.
You walk
When
out
I
the
walked
door
out the door, I could have it.
It's planned already, usually.
How do you do that? I mean, you're in here. How does that happen?
Because the thing is, like, your friends might, if they come and
Friends,
pick you
yeah.
up, your friends know.
Yeah.
They're gonna show up with
Yeah.
a rig ready, or if, you know, you smoke it, or if you snort it, it's gonna be there. And say your
Or
family
it's just
picks you
drive
up
away.
and they're not supportive of your heroin use.
When you get home.
When you get home, you walk down the street. It
Or
is,
make a phone call.
I can't
Yeah.
find weed, but I can find heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't find weed. Couldn't, if someone came up to me and was like, can you give me a dime bag?
Yeah.
I don't know a single person I could call. But I could get you as much heroin as you want, you know?
Very quickly then, outside.
Very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So there's been a tremendous amount of effort in law enforcement to, stop it from coming in.
But they're stopping the addicts.
Right, exactly.
The thing is, it is supply and demand. You guys are just hitting the supply, but you're doing nothing or very little about the demand.
You're the demand. You're
Where
saying-
the addicts
Yeah.
are the demand. As
Yeah.
long as
Yeah.
people want to use,
Right,
there's gonna be a supply.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In order to lessen that supply, you have to hit the demand and lessen the demand for it.
Did you folks have, in school, well, my son is 19 now in college, did you have drug awareness messages telling you, don't do this, don't do?
Oh, I
The
graduated
DARE
the DARE
program.
program. Yeah, I graduated the DARE
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
what, 5th grade?
You know how we graduated DARE?
Yeah.
All you had to do was say no to every scenario they gave you.
Yeah.
Guy comes up with a hit of acid, what do you do? Say no. Graduate.
So politicians say, well, we don't want to give out needles because that will, if needles were available, would that?
When we
That
had
would be
needles
cool.
in Keene,
Yeah,
available that we could buy,
Yeah.
people
They never
bought them.
shared.
And when they took them away,
yeah,
the
That's when we started
explosion
sharing.
rate for people who share needles, who now have Hep C, who have other communicable diseases, exploded.
but would the availability of free or easily accessible needles cause more drug use?
No.
They're
Not
gonna
at
use
all.
whether there's needles or
Yeah.
not.
People
But you know
So
what?
to a politician, if you give
Think long-term.
needle accessibility, it's not going to cause more drug use?
No, it's about
It's gonna
long-term.
cost
Think
Yeah.
long-term, so think now.
It's going to prevent disease, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
right.
Yes.
In the
Yeah.
long term, this
Yeah.
generation,
Yeah, yeah.
the amount of people that are gonna have to be hospitalized
We're
and
probably
have
gonna
medical
die.
treatment for hepatitis C
Right.
is gonna
Yeah.
be outrageous
Yes.
in this
Yeah.
generation. Just because they don't want people to use more.
60.
These addicts, we're gonna use whether there's a clean, well, I'm not a
Right.
needle, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whether there's a
Not.
clean or a dirty
We're
needle,
gonna
use.
they're gonna use, and they're gonna
It just
contract
comes back to how
hepatitis C.
powerful the addiction is then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And most of the
Yeah.
time, they're dirty now, because you
Yeah.
get out and you can't find a clean rig. So, screw it.
And the thing is, it's a lucrative business. You know, I've known drug dealers that sell drugs and needles.
Yep.
And they make a
Bang.
killing.
Bang.
You can go to Mass and buy a package of needles
Mhm.
for $3 and
Mhm.
come up and sell it for 20.
Mhm.
Oh,
You know, if someone's desperate enough,
Yeah.
you could sell someone a single rig for $10
Yeah.
if they're desperate.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you get out, if you had to design an ideal program to help you, become a functioning member of society without being a user, what would that program be like? When would it have to be available? what would it
minute
do?
you walk-
What would it do for
The
you?
minute I walk out the door.
The minute you walk out the door?
Yep.
Could it be
You
2
need
days
set up
later?
No.
Could it be 2 days later?
No.
Could not be 2 days.
No.
It's too late.
2 days too late.
I
2 days too late.
I got out and went right into rehab as soon as I got out of here, and the first day I got out of rehab, I used on my way out of rehab.
Yep,
Yeah.
So, and you can get it in rehab, so.
right. Yeah, yeah. So what does
Yeah.
a program look like if you had to design a program to help you get back to a normal drug-free
You
life?
need
I-
maintenance.
What would it look like?
Maintenance.
Maintenance would be key.
Yeah, mainly Suboxone. Methadone, I don't think.
This is something hard for members of the public to understand, the concept of maintenance on another drug. Again, for the
Because
public
they-
to understand this.
We don't
is-
have the craving.
They think it's trading one drug for another.
I think if you get detox and you have strong enough willpower, you can stop. But you're telling us,
It's not a willpower thing. You can, like, how are you supposed to have willpower against dreams?
Yeah.
How are you supposed to stop
yeah.
that?
So how many of you have had dreams about using?
Every single night.
Mostly,
Every night.
every night?
Since I've been
Tell me
every
about
single
that.
night.
Tell me about that.
I don't dream on the outside, and I come here and I get sober off my maintenance, and I have so far every single night had a dream that I'm shooting up and getting high, and it's horrible. It is. I wake up with anxiety, and it's been hard to sleep.
And another thing.
And the Suboxone stops those dreams? Is
Yes.
that what I
Yes.
heard?
Yep.
It stops you
I don't have
craving.
the craving. I don't
Yeah.
want for it. I'm
Yeah,
able
yeah.
to function. I'm able to work. I'm
Yeah.
able to
Yeah,
be a productive member of
Right.
society.
yeah, yeah.
And without it, in here, all I
Yeah.
want to do is get high.
So if you're coming out of here, what I'm hearing is, coming out of here, what would work would be instant, immediate access to medically assisted therapy.
You need
In other therapy, you need mental health therapy, because a
In
lot of
addition
us
to-
have
in addition to
addiction
counseling.
issues because
Right.
of trauma in our lives that
Right.
have happened.
Diagnosis.
And other.
In addition to a work opportunity.
Right, like
Yeah.
now, in here, they have a great mental health system,
Mm.
but when I get out,
Mhm,
I'm not gonna have
mhm.
insurance, I'm not
Mhm.
gonna have anything. Where am I
Mhm.
gonna have access to those resources,
Mhm.
along with the maintenance program?
I
Right.
think it needs to be set up ahead of time, where you're gonna
Yeah.
go out and you're gonna
Right.
have a counselor or therapist. Your medication that you're on is in line, because a lot of these
Right.
girls and men get out of jail and they have their medication's
You have
gone.
And sometimes a way to get to it, because
Yeah.
not all of us
Yeah,
can drive
Yeah,
or have our
right,
license.
yeah.
So,
and they're way out there.
and yeah.
So if you live in a
Yeah.
rural area, that's not
There's
gonna
not
work.
enough of that
If-
either.
No.
Even if you live downtown Keene,
Yeah.
getting to Keene Metro is almost impossible.
Yeah, because it's
Mhm.
actually in Swansea.
Yeah, 'cause
It's called Keene Metro, but it's in Swansea.
It's in Swansea.
So,
And, yeah, I don't have transportation.
Right,
and say you only
Yeah.
have enough money for your dose, you're not gonna take a taxi.
right.
Yeah, no.
You know?
Yeah, yeah,
Nope.
yeah.
There were days when we were first on it that it was a panic to try to get there.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a
Yes,
car.
yeah.
And here's where you have your issue of overdoses, is we come to jail, we're forced to get clean.
Yeah,
And then we're released.
yeah.
And our tolerance, like Jackie said, was so high when she came into jail.
Mhm, mhm.
You're gonna try to use what you were using
Right.
before you came
Yeah,
in.
Yeah,
Even though you're still gonna try, because that's what it took to get you high.
Yeah.
And that's when you overdose.
Right.
Because there is nothing set up to help us,
Right.
and you
Yeah.
go into jail, you get sober, we're forced to get sober, like I said earlier,
Yeah.
like I didn't choose this, and, I'm gonna go out, I'm not gonna use what I use because I know that, but there's a lot of people that don't know that, and they're gonna go out and drop a gram and a needle and put it in their arm.
yeah.
Or we
And-
do, we just want to get high.
So the bottom line I'm getting here is the system we've got right now to try to convince you folks to stop is just not working.
No.
No.
Not at all.
And-
You
and-
need a lot of components to help
Yeah,
an
yeah,
addict to stop.
right,
You need mental
yeah.
health, you need even support, a counselor that's not mental
Yeah,
health support.
yeah,
We need
yeah.
transitional living, we
yeah.
need jobs that,
Yeah.
aren't gonna pay us $7.50 an hour,
We need
because
to
where
live.
are we gonna live?
More rehabs.
What
We
what
need-
place do
Yeah.
you know you can live at making $7.50 an hour and eat? And half of us have children. I don't.
I don't.
I do.
There's
Right.
4 of us that don't have children, but
And a granddaughter.
You know, like, how are you supposed to put food on the table for yourself and somebody else?
Yeah.
And a roof over your head, and an electric bill.
Like, I'm afraid that I'm gonna come out however many years down the road and use, you know? Even though I'm in prison, even though I'm away from it for a long time, I am coming out of prison into the same environment.
Yeah.
I'm not, because I wanna move across country, and I wanna get away and be given an opportunity to start fresh, but I can't, because I have to have my probation and everything, my federal probation. I have to go to a halfway house in Manchester. I'm from that area.
By a show of hands, how many of you have overdosed?
Let's try it, I can't do it.
And for those of you that overdosed, did you experience Narcan?
No.
You did not. How many, by a show of hands, do you know somebody who's died of an overdose?
All my friends.
I just had a friend die a couple weeks ago.
I was 18.
How many of you are afraid of dying? So I asked that series of questions, Senator, because I've asked them of many addicts. And the answers are alarming to me, that virtually every person who has a heroin experience knows somebody who's died. Virtually every heroin user has experienced overdose or close to it. The fact that they know people who have died does not seem to be a deterrent to future use.
I've seen people.
And for the public at large to say, you're clean, why don't you just quit? Is like saying to a woman in a violent relationship, why don't you just leave? It's not that simple.
It's not.
It's much more complicated than that. So I thank you for sharing that. And what you're doing today is helping to educate the public, because we don't know what you know, and we need to know what you know.
What is it common in your background that causes you to fall into this that doesn't happen to other people?
I had a skydiving accident. We
Uh-huh.
went skydiving and our parachute gave way and we free fell the last 30 feet. So I was on prescription pills for a year and then they just stopped them. So now I'm sick because I was prescribed those pills. You know, I guess I was abusing them to a certain extent, but like they were to me, and then they just take them away. So I want, one, to cover that pain, and two, I liked that feeling that I was getting. So I went to the streets.
Mine was abusive relationship.
As an adult or a teenager?
As an adult.
As an adult?
Yeah.
I was 23
That's
when
what
I started
started,
using.
Like I was 23 when I started using because of abusive relationship.
That was your self-medication?
Yeah, pretty much. Like got abusive relationships, and then getting into pills and moving up to heroin, because that's what started me. I started doing Dr. Perks at 30s, and I couldn't find them where they got too expensive, so that's when heroin came to me.
A lot of mine was childhood trauma, loss of family. I've lost my whole family, both parents. So
How did that happen?
my dad died from alcohol. My mom, she had mental health issues, addiction issues. You know, she had a poor childhood. So it was, I mean, most of it came from my childhood.
For me, it started in 8th grade. I had a friend kill himself, you know, in 8th grade. And then all of my friends were trying to kill themselves. And the trauma didn't stop, you know. It went from like the trauma of suicide to like the trauma of sexual assault to then the trauma of, you know, when I was 18, I started dating a guy 10 years older than me, you know, and he was a heroin addict. And he's the one that got me turned on to it, and, you know, and he was abusive, and it just never stopped after that.
What got me started was sexual abuse, and
How old were you at this time?
13.
13.
Yeah. And then it never stopped, like abusive relationships and my parents getting divorced. Like, I had a good childhood. Both my parents, they work at the hospital. They've never had any addiction issues or anything.
For me, I think in 7th grade when my dad went to jail, he kidnapped someone over marijuana. And then my parents were always fighting. My dad was really abusive towards us too. And my mom wouldn't leave him because she said it was for the kids and blah, blah, blah. And then my dad gets out of jail and they get divorced and there's lots of drama with that and sexual abuse, regular abuse. And then in high school, just like being depressed all the time and like I started using pills.
Depressed is really related to these
Yeah.
experiences in, your, in your young life.
Yeah, and it definitely started with pills and then hanging out with people. Like I didn't even smoke cigarettes until I, was around people who were smoking cigarettes, and then I started smoking cigarettes, and then started smoking weed, and then doing pills, and then eventually, like, I got really bad into Oxy 80s, and then they just took them away.
No, what was that? What was that you said there? You got bad?
Oxycontin 80s, Oxy 80s. And then they took them away, and then all of a sudden, that's when in Vermont, that's when the heroin epidemic just like blew up, because everybody was doing heroin after those pills were taken away.
Sexual abuse, trauma, just never stopped. Young age, hanging out with older kids. My cousins and stuff were all older than me. My brother's 9 years older than me. My parents were addicts. My dad was in prison for 10 years for heroin. My mom's an alcoholic. My dad's still an addict, but he's technically in recovery. He's got a broken back, so he's prescribed methadone.
Yeah.
So I can't get away from it either.
So how old were you when you went out of the world of innocent childhood into awareness of this stuff you talked about?
Like, I knew about it young, but I became a true addict at 16.
I have a lot of anxiety and depression and PTSD. I actually started using around when I was 20, sexual abuse, getting raped for 2 years. Growing up wasn't the easiest for me either. I grew up very poor.
Where'd you grow up? What?
Puerto Rico.
Oh yeah. Huh.
And my father used to abuse my mother in front of us. Not only mentally, but physically. And I've just been jumping from one relationship to the next. It's always a lot of mental abuse, emotional abuse. So that's when I started going to the doctors and getting prescribed medication that I unfortunately started overusing. And then that wasn't enough, then that's when I picked up alcohol. And now I'm here for a terrible mistake that I caused, and I regret it. And I also have a 5-year-old son who I haven't seen for 2 months.
Yeah.
And he thinks that I'm at the doctor, and
Right. Yeah.
I don't want him to know that I'm here.
Yeah.
Because I'm embarrassed and ashamed of myself.
Yeah.
We all have multiple addictions too. It's not just heroin. There's other addictions like I started with alcohol. I'm an alcoholic.
Alcoholic as well. Drug addict.
And it's going to be easy for me to go out and buy alcohol, which would be a downward spiral into, because I associate alcohol with heroin.
And that mistake, my mistake is causing me to go through a divorce, which is hard enough. And I'm gonna have to fight for my son in court at some point. But as of right now, the last time I talked to him was the day before his birthday. And he asked me where I was, and I feel like I abandoned him, and I know it's just hard.
So it must be, you love your son, I can see that for 100%, so this must be really tough, given these challenges.
It is.
I'm 36. I want to just get out and be a mom, be a wife, take care of my family. It would be great to get back into, I worked in a microbiology lab before I came here. So it would be nice to be able to get back into the workforce again and actually be able to support myself and my kids. And really all I want right now is to just be a mom. Just to be home with my kids and be clean, be sober, and do the right thing.
And you want to work?
I want to work, yeah. And I would love to be able to get another job, a decent job, not a McDonald's job. You know.
I'm 28, and when I get out of here, I obviously want to stay clean. And I would love to get back into the workforce, especially I was a machine operator. But I'm a felon, so I can't get any kind of job like that anymore. So pretty much screwed my whole life up. But I want, be a better mother to show my daughter that I don't want her to grow up making the mistakes I made. Like, I just want her to be happy, and I don't want her to go through the struggles that I went through. I just cut off the connections and try to be a better person to society. Yeah.
I'm also 28. I would love to just get back to a normal life again without using. I don't have any children or anything to really go home to, so it's going to be more difficult for me to, and I'm also a felon, so to find a job. So I'm going to be in a real rut that I'm going to have to overcome before I use again.
What would be your dream career?
I did nursing for 10 years.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
I would love to get back into that, but it's not going to happen. Being a felon, I'll never be able to do that again. Now, my options are limited, very limited. I would love to not work, a minimum wage job, but that's the only option you're really going to have, being a felon.
I'm 29, and I just want to have a life with my husband. I want to have just like that normalcy where, we have careers, not jobs. And we have a family, and, we go on a vacation once a year, when we get the time off. I just want to be society's normal with the house and, and a dog and just and a cat. We'll go with a cat too. And as for like a dream job, I love history. I love ancient history. And my dream job would be to be an anthropologist with a minor in archaeology and work out in Egypt in the Egyptian Antiquities Department. That would be my dream job. Now I'm going to be a felon. That would never happen.
I'm 23. When I get out, I want to have a family of my own, have kids, find somebody to settle down with, and my dream job. It would be nice to be a drug counselor, but I don't know. If I can overcome my addiction, then I could finally step forward.
For me, I think coming to jail has been like a huge wake-up call for me. I just want to be normal. I feel like my whole life has been crazy, and now that I'm sober, I look back and I'll always fight that urge to want to get high, and because everyone in here knows, they obviously love that feeling of not feeling anything. But I feel like now is the time. I'm 22. When I get out, I really want to stay strong and make my mom proud instead of disappointed in me, and just be normal. I just want to be normal. And for a career, I don't know what I want to do yet.
I'm 25. I want to go home to my son again. I want to get back out and get a job. Dream job would probably be a vet. I want to be a vet. But I know that probably won't happen.
I'm 30, and I just want my divorce to be done and over with.
Yep.
I just want my son in my life.
Yep. Yep.
I've had a really good career as a pharmacy technician for like 8 years, so I would love to do that again.
Yeah.
And I really just want to go back either to college to do some sort of, I don't know, just go back to school to do something, and or I actually want to go back. I actually want to go to the beauty academy as well.
To which academy?
Beauty academy in
Yep.
Keene. Yeah, I want to be a hairdresser.
Yep.
So that's it.
Yep.